Sir, recently I read a short report in one of the newspapers that a spaceship had been released which would travel to the outer spaces of the universe, and that it would, being part of the universe, be part of
the global,
of the continue. There will be no ending to it.
Yes.
Because there will be no friction, no time, that there would be no ending. Is the within of the self, of the human brain, the human mind, call it what you will, is there a within of things, whether of things, whether of man, of the tree, of nature, which is a space without ending? Is it a mirror image of that vastness which exists?
Are you asking, if I may, repeat what you have understood, what you have said, that within the human brain, I like to distinguish between the brain and the mind, which we'll discuss a little later. Within the human brain, there is, or there can be, a space without end. A eternity out of time. We can speculate about it a great deal, as philosophers have done, but that speculation is not actuality.
No, but an insight, it was an insight into outer space.
Yes.
That
the human brain has set a machine that has entered into the whole.
But it was an insight first into the possibility of that,
yes,
which now made it possible for them to experiment and prove
that's
it.
To produce a machine that will go beyond the
is there an intelligence? If you do not posit a thing, then you cannot even...
No, I question whether, I want to be clear on this point, whether we are now in our conversation, we are speculating or theorizing, or we are really trying to find out in ourselves whether there is such immensity, whether there is actually a movement which is not of time, which is eternal, right?
How do you start an inquiry like this? By examination.
I would...
Or posing the question. If you don't pose the question...
We have posed the question.
We have to pose a question.
We have put the question.
Now, whether it becomes what comes out of it is speculation or examination depends on how you approach it. But the question has to be posed.
We have put the question. We have put the question whether there is, whether the brain can realize the truth that there is either eternity or not eternity. That is a question. We have asked that question, right?
Yeah.
Now, you ask, how do you begin to inquire into it? How do you begin to feel gently, hesitantly, your way into this really a fundamental question? A question that has been asked for thousands of years. Whether man is bound to time forever, or there is, or there can be, not imaginatively, not romantically, but actually, can there be within the brain, or the brain realizes itself in a state of eternity? That's the question we're asking.
Now, even to proceed into this, you started by drawing a distinction between the brain and the mind.
Yes.
Would you elaborate?
We are saying that the brain is conditioned, at least some of it. That conditioning is brought about through experience. That conditioning is knowledge. And that conditioning is memory, and experience, knowledge, memory are limited, and so thought is limited.
Yes.
Now, we have been functioning within the area of thought.
Yes.
And to discover something new, there has to be, at least temporarily, or for a period, when thought is not in movement, when thought is in abeyance.
The brain is a material thing.
Yes.
It has its own activity.
Yes. It has its own activity, not imposed by thought.
But for centuries, the operation of the brain has been the operation of thought.
That's all. That's what we are saying. That's what we are saying. That the whole movement of the brain, at least that part of the brain which has not been used, is conditioned by thought. And thought is always limited. And therefore, it is conditioned to conflict. That which is limited must create division.
What is mind then?
Mind is a wholly different dimension in which has no contact with thought. Let me explain. Brain, that part of the brain which has been functioning as an instrument of thought, that brain has been conditioned, that part of the brain. And as long as that part of the brain remains in that state, there is no communication, entire communication with the mind. So, when that conditioning is not, then there is communication between that mind, which is totally on a different dimension, that can communicate with the brain and act using thought.
But you have already posited
Oh, definitely.
a state which is outside the realm of thought.
That's right. Therefore, outside the realm of
Time.
time.
as time seems to be the essential core of this problem.
Time and thought.
Thought is a product of time. I mean, thought is time, in a sense.
That's the real point. Where do you start, you mean?
No. Perhaps if we could go into this whole business of the flow of time, and at what instant is interception possible?
What do you mean interception? Because I don't quite understand the usage of that word. Nobody can...
I'm not talking of an interceptor.
Yeah, that's it.
But the...
Ending of it.
I was going to use another word, but you could use the word ending of it.
Let's use simpler words.
Time is from a past immemorial.
Yes. Which is thought.
Thought is also from a past immemorial.
Yes.
Projecting into a future which is also
Moment of thought.
eternal.
No. The future is conditioned by the past. As a human psyche.
So unless the human being ends, unless he ceases to be.
Ceases to be conditioned. Right?
No, but you will still use thought.
No.
The content will undergo a change, but the mechanism of thought will continue.
Mechanism of thought will continue. Let's put it up. Now, thought is the chief instrument we have, right?
Yes.
And that instrument, after thousands of years of various efforts, actions, has not only made that instrument dull, it has reached the end of its tether. Because its thought is limited and time is limited. Right? Therefore, it is conditioned, divided, and in perpetual state of turmoil. Now, can that end? That's the question.
Now, I had used the word interception. This movement of the past as thought, as the yesterday.
As today.
But what is the today?
What today
is the today?
What today is the movement of the past modified. Memory. We are a bundle of memories.
That is true. But the contact with time.
Now, wait a minute, what do you mean contact with time? Time is thought.
No, time is a psychological process. I'm not talking of contact with time.
Don't
but
leave on that.
Contact with time as a psychological process is in the present, isn't it?
No,
they can only be aware.
Pupul Ji, let's be very clear. Time is thought, right? Don't separate time as though something different from
No,
thought.
time is thought.
So it is time thought.
Yes, as the past, present,
And
future.
Are you asking what is the now?
Yes, because this interception I'm talking about. Let me use my word till you swiped away.
Interception. I don't quite understand.
Yes, but interception is contact with the fact.
Contact with the fact that the whole movement of thought
not even all that. Just contact with what is.
Which is what? Now.
Which whatever is your statement now. Whatever you are saying now, and my listening to it is a contact with what is.
That is, how may I put it in the way I understand it? The past, the present, and the future is a movement of time, thought. How do you realize it?
Yeah. How do you realize?
How do you come to see the truth of it, the fact of it?
You know, sir, there is such a thing as tactile touch.
Textile, I can touch it. Yes, tactile touch.
Now,
not
tactile touch. Now,
how do you touch this thing?
How do you touch this thing?
How do you, to use your word, come to contact with it? With the fact that I am a whole series of memories, which is time thought.
Now, let us be more concrete. The thought that I'm going away this afternoon and that I will be leaving you. It's a thought.
It's a thought. It's actuality.
An actuality. But out of that, there is a certain pain of leaving you.
Yes.
Which is the emotional, psychological elements which come to cover up the fact.
Yes, which is what we
distort
know in the French partir.
Yes. So, how does one, what is to be contacted? Not the fact that I'm going away.
But what?
But this pain.
The pain.
The nature of the
I understand. Are you asking the pain of going, the pain of 1,000 aches of years and centuries of pain of loneliness, sorrow and all that, grief, the agony, the anxiety and all that. Is that separate from me who is to feel it?
It may not be separate.
It is me.
But you said, at what point, how do I touch it?
What do you mean? I don't quite understand
Sir,
your usage of how do I touch it. How do you...
It is only in the present.
I see what you mean.
The whole of this edifice.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said. The now contains the past, the future, and the present. Right?
Yes.
Let's understand this. The present is the whole past and the future.
Yes.
And the present. This is the present. The present is me with all the memories of 1,000 years, and that 1,000 years being modified all the time, and the future. All that is now, the present. Right?
But the present is also something which also is not a static thing. It's over before.
Of course. The moment you have said it's gone.
It's gone. So what is it that you actually see? What is it you actually observe?
Actually observe the fact.
What fact?
The fact, just wait, the fact that the present is the whole movement of time and thought. to see the truth of that, to have, let's not use the word see, have an insight, perception into that the now is all time and thought.
Does that perception emanate from the brain?
Either it emanates, comes from perceiving with the eyes, nerves, so on, or that perception is an insight which has nothing to do with time and thought.
But it arises within the brain.
Yes. Or outside the brain, you're asking.
Yeah, it's very important.
I know, that's what I want to be clear. Is it within the sphere of the brain, or it is that insight which comes when there is the freedom from its conditioning, which is the operation of the mind, which is supreme intelligence. You follow?
I don't follow.
Uh-huh. Let's be clear. The brain, whatever part it is conditioned by time and thought, time-thought. As long as that conditioning remains, insight is not possible. You may have occasional insight into something, but pure insight, which means comprehension of the totality of things. Yeah, I will use the word totality, not wholeness, because that word is now being used so much. It is the perception of completeness, right? That insight is not time thought. Therefore, that insight is part of that brain which is at a different is in a different dimension.
Without sight, there cannot be insight.
That's all I'm saying.
So seeing,
perceiving,
perceiving, I'm using
yeah, you perceive.
Perceiving, listening, which is contained in perceiving, seems to be the essential essence of insight.
Would you repeat that again slowly?
Let us take the word insight. It is seeing into.
Seeing into.
Seeing into. Seeing into seeing?
No. Seeing into. Just a minute, let's look at that word. Seeing, comprehending the totality of something. The vastness of something. Right? Insight is possible only when there is cessation of thought and time. Thought and time are limited. Therefore, such limitation cannot have insight.
To understand what you're saying, I have to have an open ear and eyes that see. Out of that sound, out of that form, out of that whole
the meaning of the words and
of
so
it
on, so on, yes.
Arises a seeing which goes beyond. I'm trying to get at something.
What are you trying to get? I don't.
I'm
yes,
trying to get at. You talk of insight. Now, insight cannot arise without attention.
No, don't introduce the word
No,
attention.
Sight, seeing.
No, if we can stick to same thing, that is, insight cannot exist as long as time, thought play a part.
You see, it's like
And
which comes first?
Huh?
Which comes first?
What do you mean? Which?
I mean, in consciousness, in my approach to this, I can't start with insight.
No.
I can only start with observation.
You can only start by realizing the truth. Time, psychological time, and thought are always limited. That's a fact.
That is a fact.
No, wait, start from that. And therefore, whatever it does will always be limited, and therefore contradictory, therefore divisive, and endless conflict. That's all I'm saying. You can see the fact of that.
No, you can see the fact of that
Now,
outside of yourself.
Wait. You can see it politically.
No, you can see it outside
No,
of yourself.
wait. You can see it politically, religiously, all throughout the world. This is a fact. That time and thought, in their activity, have brought about havoc in the world. That's a fact.
Yes.
Now, so if the question is, can that limitation ever end? Or is man conditioned forever to live within the time's thought area?
You see, the difficulty of understanding this is what is the relationship of the brain cells and the action of the senses, because I'm not using the word thought at the moment, on a statement like this, that do you see the fact that time, thought
Or limited?
are limited? But what does it exactly mean? How does one see that? It's like telling me that you are an illusion.
What?
It is exactly like telling me that Pupul is an illusion.
No, I didn't say that.
But I'm saying it.
No, you're not an illusion.
No, sir. It's exactly that.
No.
Because the moment you say that after all, Pupul is a psychological
Right?
bundle of the past.
Psychological movement of time and thought, which is the psyche.
Which is the psyche. And you say
That psyche
is limited.
is limited. Whatever it does is limited.
Then I would ask, what's wrong with its being limited?
Nothing is wrong. If you want to live in perpetual conflict, there's nothing wrong.
I move further. To end it, it's not only to feel that it is limited, but there must be an ending to
I
it.
say there is.
What is the nature of this ending?
What do you mean ending?
Just seeing
Let's take the word ending. I must be clear what you and we are both saying, understanding the meaning of the same word, to end something, to end attachment, to end not to smoke, not to do this or that, to put an end to it. The ending.
so that the flow ceases to flow.
Yes, if you like to, yes, cease. The movement of thought and time ceases psychologically. What is your difficulty? You're making it terribly complex.
No, sir.
Simple thing.
There is a point of perception, which is a point of insight.
Yes.
What is that point of insight?
What do you mean point of insight?
Where I see this. In what time space do I see it?
Look, Pupul, just let's be simple. Time and thought has divided the world. Politically, geographically, religious. That's a fact, right? Right?
Yeah.
Can't you see the fact?
No, sir. I look at outside.
No, wait. Don't look outside.
No, I don't see the fact.
What do you mean you don't see the
fact? Because if I saw the fact, really saw the fact,
you would stop that kind of thing.
It would be all over.
That's all I'm saying.
Why, if it is such a simple thing, which I don't think it is, because it has such devious ways.
No, that's the whole point. This is where I'm saying something which we are not probably putting in different words. If you have an insight that the movement of thought and time are divisive, at whatever level, in whatever realm, in whatever area, it is a movement of endless conflict. That's a fact. Britain fought for some island. That's a fact. Because British, French, German, Russian, they're all divisive. And India against somebody else. This is the whole movement of time and thought. That's a fact.
Yes, but you can see it when it's a matter outside.
Now, at that point, if you can see it outside, this movement, of what it does in the world,
yes,
what misery it has caused in the world, then inwardly, the psyche is time and thought, is the movement of time and thought. This movement has created that. Simple. The psychological movement of the divisive psychological movement has created the external fact. Right? I am a Hindu, I feel secure. I am a German, I feel secure in the word, in the feeling that I belong to something.
See, Krishnaji, I would say that all these, being Hindu, greed,
yes,
all those one has seen as a product of this movement of time thought.
That's all I'm saying.
But it's not quite.
What is your difficulty?
There is within it all a sense of I exist.
That's the whole psyche. I don't realize the psyche is there.
Yeah, that's essentially the nature of
Why doesn't it? Because it's simple enough. Why do you make it complicated? Because I have thought the psyche is something other than conditioned state. I thought there was something in me, or in the brain, or in somewhere, which is timeless, which is God, which is this, which is that, and that if I could only reach that, everything will be right. That's part of my conditioning. Because I am uncertain, confused, God will make me, give me safety, protection, certainty. That's all. God or a highest principle or some kind of conviction.
What is the nature of the ground from which insight springs?
I've told you. Insight can only take place when there is freedom from time
and thought. You see, it's a sort of unending.
No, it is not. You are complicating a very simple fact, as most of us do. If one wants to live at peace, which to live in peace only is to flower, is to understand the extraordinary world of peace. Peace cannot be brought about by thought.
You see, no, please understand, Krishnaji. It is the brain itself which listens to that statement.
Yes, it listens. And then what happens? Just a minute, what happens? If it listens, it's quiet.
It's quiet.
It isn't ruminating, it's not going on about, what does he mean? It's not rattling, it's quiet. Right?
Yes, it's quiet.
No, wait. When it is actually not induced quietness, actually when it listens, and there is quietness, then there is insight. I don't have to explain 10 different ways the limitation of thought. It is so.
I see what you're saying. Is there anything further than?
Oh yes, there is. There's a great deal more. Which is listening a sound? A sound within an area. Or I am listening to what you are saying without the verbal sound. If there is a verbal sound, I'm not listening. I'm only understanding the words. But you want to convey to me something much more than the words. So, if the words are making a sound in my hearing, I can't deeply understand the depth of what you're saying. So I want to find out something much more, which we started with the present.
Yes.
The present is the now. The now is the whole movement of time thought, right?
Yes.
It's the whole structure.
Yes.
If the structure of time and thought ends, the now has totally different meaning. The now then is nothing. I mean, when we use the word nothing, it doesn't, zero contains all the figures, right?
Yes.
So nothing contains all. But we are afraid to be nothing.
When you say contains the all,
Contains,
you mean, is it the essence of all human and racial and environmental and nature and
yes.
the cosmos as such?
No, I would rather, you see, I'm talking of the fact of a realization that there is nothing. The psyche is a bundle of memories, right? And those memories are dead. They operate, they function, but they are the outcome of past experience which is gone. I'm a movement of memories, right? Now, if I have an insight into that, I am nothing. There is nothing. I don't exist.
You said something about sound.
Yes.
And listening.
Listening without sound.
Without.
You see the beauty of it?
But it is possible. When the mind itself is totally still.
No, don't bring in the mind for the moment. When the brain is quiet, absolutely quiet, therefore there is no sound made by the word.
There is no sound made by the word.
Of course. That is real listening. The word has given me what you want to convey, right? You want to tell me, I'm going this afternoon. I listen to that.
But the brain has not been active in listening.
Yes. And the brain, when it's active, is a noise, is sound. So that let's go back to something more. We'll come back to this sound business, because it's very interesting. What is sound? Sound can only exist, pure sound can only exist when there is space and silence. Otherwise, just noise. So I'd like to come back to the question. All one's education, all one's past experience and knowledge is a movement in becoming, both inwardly and psychologically as well as outwardly. Becoming is the accumulation of memory, right? More and more and more memories, which is called knowledge, right? Now, as long as that movement exists, there is fear of being nothing. But when one really sees the insight of the fallacy, the illusion of becoming something, therefore that very perception, that insight, see, there is nothing, there is, this becoming is endless time, thought, and conflict. There is an ending of that. That is the ending of the movement of which is the psyche, which is time, thought. The ending of that is to be nothing. Right? Nothing then contains the whole universe. Not my petty little fears and petty little anxieties and problems and my sorrow with regard to, dozen things. After all, Pupul Ji, nothing means the entire world of compassion. Compassion is nothing. And therefore, that nothingness is supreme intelligence. That's all there is. I don't know if I'm conveying this. Yeah. So, why why are human beings, just ordinary, intelligent, frightened of being nothing? If I see that I'm really a verbal illusion, that I'm nothing but dead memories, that's a fact. But I don't like to think I'm just nothing but memories. But the truth is I am memories. If I have no memory, either I'm in a state of amnesia, or I understand the whole movement of memory, and which is time thought, and see the fact. As long as there is this movement, there must be endless conflict, struggle, pain. And when there is an insight into that, nothing means something entirely different. And that nothing is the present. I don't know. It's not varying present. It isn't one day it's this and one day the next day. It is that nothing, being nothing is no time. Therefore it's not ending one day and beginning another day. You see, it's really quite, if one goes into this problem, not theoretically, but actually, the astrophysicists are trying to understand the universe. They can only understand in terms of gases and, but the immensity of it, as a part of this human being, not out there, here. Which means there must be no sense of, no shadow of time and thought. That's, Pupul, after all, that's real meditation. That's what shunya means in Sanskrit. But we have interpreted 100 different ways, commentaries about this and that. But the actual fact is, we are nothing except words and opinions, judgment. I mean, that's all petty affairs. And if we make our life become petty, so to grasp, to understand that in the zero contains all the numbers. Right? So in nothing, all the world, not the pain and the anger, oh, that's all so small. I know, it sounds, when I'm suffering, that's the only thing I have. Or when there's fear, that's the only thing. But I don't see it is such a petty little thing. So, having listened to all this, what is your comprehension? What is it you realize? If you could put it into words, it's rather good. What is it that you and those who are going to listen to all this, it may be rubbish, it may be true, who are going to listen to all this, what do they capture, realize, see the immensity of all this?
really
If-
an ending of the psychological nature of the self,
Yes.
because that
No,
is
wait a
becoming.
minute, Pupul ji. I've asked a question because it's going to be very helpful to all of us. If you could, as you listen to all this, what's your response? What's your reaction? What have you realized? What have you said? But you, I've got it. I've got the perfume of it.
So it's very. Don't ask me that question,
What?
because anything I say would sound because as you were speaking, there was immensity.
Oh, yes. Now, wait a minute. There was that, I could feel it. There was the tension of that. But is it temporary? Is it for the moment, for a second and it's gone? And then the whole business of remembering it, capturing it, inviting it.
I think one has moved from there at least. And another thing one realizes, the most difficult thing in the world is to be totally simple.
Yes, sir. To be simple, that's right. If one is really simple, from that you can understand the enormous complexity of things. But we start with all the complexities and never see the simplicity. That's our training. We have trained our brain to see the complexity and then try to find an answer to the complexity. But we don't see the extraordinary simplicity of life, of facts rather.
In the Indian tradition, if I may move away a little,
I'm glad.
out of sound were
Lord.
born all the elements, all the Panch Mahabhutas.
See, I mean,
The sound which reverberates and is yet not heard.
that's it, that's it. But often, Pupulji, especially in the Indian tradition, from the Buddha to Nagarjuna, and the ancient Hindus, have said there is that state of nothingness, which they said you must deny the whole thing. Nagarjuna said, he came to that point, as far as I understand, I may be mistaken, what I've been told, that he denied everything, every movement of the psyche.
Yes, every movement of the brain cell
Yes.
as becoming.
Yes. Now, it is there in the books or it is there in tradition. Why haven't they pursued that? Even the most intelligent of them, even the most religious devotee, not to some structure, but to the feeling of religious, the feeling of the divine, the sense of something sacred. Why haven't they pursued denying not the world? You can't deny the world. They have denied the world. and made a mess of their own lives. But the total negation of the me.
So really, renunciation, let me use that word,
I know renunciation.
is the negation of the me.
But yes, but it is not negation. The me exists still. I may renounce my house.
No, but that's...
I may get away from my memories, but you follow?
But basically the renunciation is never in the outer.
Inside, which means what? Don't be attached, even to your highest principle. Don't be attached to your loincloth. So I think what is happening is that we are really caught in net of words, in theories, not in actuality. I suffer. I must find a way to end that, not escape into some kind of silly illusions. Why have human beings not faced the fact and change the fact? You follow my question? Is it because we are living with illusions of ideas, ideals and conclusions and all that, unrealities? It's so obvious, all this.
We are living with the history of mankind.
Yes.
That is the history of mankind.
That is the history of mankind. And mankind is me. And me is this. Endless misery. And so, if you want to end misery, end me. Not, the ending of me is not an action of will. You can't come, the ending of me doesn't come about through fasting, all that business, childish business that human beings have gone through, who've been called saints.
It's really the ending of time, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Ending of time, thought. That means to listen without the sound. Listen to the universe without a sound. We were talking the other day in New York, and there was a man doctor, very well known. He said all these questions are all right, sir, but the fundamental issue is whether the brain cells, which have been conditioned for can really bring about a mutation in themselves. Then the whole thing is simple. Yes?
Yes.
I say, it's possible only through insight. And I went in, as we've gone into it now. See, nobody is willing to listen to this in its entirety. They listen partially. Agree in the sense, go together up to a certain distance and stop there. If man really says, I must have peace in the world, therefore I must live peacefully, then there is peace in the world. But he doesn't want to live in peace. He does everything opposite to that. his ambition, his arrogance, his silly, petty fears and all that. So we have reduced the vastness of all this to some petty little reactions. Do you realize that, Pupul? Huh? And so we live such petty lives. I mean, this applies from the highest to the lowest.
What is sound to you, sir?
Sound is the tree. Sound. Say between, take music. With a pure Indian chanting, Rigvedic chanting, and the Gregorian chanting. They are extraordinarily close together. And one listens to all the songs of praise. Then you listen to the sound of the waves, the sound of strong wind among the trees, sound of person whom you have lived with for many years. You get used to all this. But if you don't get used to all this, then sound has an extraordinary meaning. Then you hear everything afresh. Say, for instance, you tell me time and thought is the whole movement of man's life, therefore limited. Now, you have communicated to me a simple fact, and I listen to it. I listen to it without the sound of the word. I've captured the significance, the depth of that statement. And I can't lose it. It isn't I've heard it now and it's gone when I go outside. I've listened to it so in its entirety. That means the sound has conveyed the fact that it is so. And what is so is absolute, always. I believe only in the Hebraic tradition, Jehovah, or whatever the nameless one, can only say, I am. Like Tattvamasi and so on in Sanskrit. I think that's enough.